Hello. Oh, we got some people joining. Hi, everybody. Oh, already. Good job. Sweet. Hey, Joe Dennis. Getting an Avi in here. There we go. Hi.
Here we are. We're doing it.
We're doing it.
Tehillah, how are you?
I am well. I'm doing real well. Just finished the Careers in Music panel at Cappella Academy. Great
Yeah,
time.
I just got off of
This
there.
week is great. This week is great.
Yeah, it's been good. I'm
How
excited
about
to have
you?
this class. I'm doing good. Just hanging out in the forest, and I'm just excited to talk about one of my favorite things in the whole entire universe, songwriting.
Absolutely.
Very exciting.
I'm pumped. Yeah, I'll probably wait like a couple more minutes for the careers in music people to transition over. But
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm trying to see like how we'll be able to take questions and stuff at the end of this. I mean, it's probably just going to be from the comments. We can't guest another person, right? You can only do one
yeah.
person at a time. Okay, cool. That's all
Oh,
right.
there's a little poll here that people can ask questions and I can see them. Sweet. It's perfect.
Great. Okay, I'll let you take care of that because I know nothing about it.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. Um, let's see how many people we have here. 320. That's not bad.
Not bad
It's
at all.
exciting.
Not too shabby.
Mm. How is everyone doing today on Instagram? Where's everyone from? I see Vienna, Brazil. Um, we'll see. The comments are a little bit delayed, but yeah, Spain, exciting stuff. Yeah, let's see. We'll maybe start at like 12:05.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll give it 5 minutes. Puerto Rico, Los Angeles, Hong Kong. Come on, Elliot. St. Louis, Nicholas. Oh man, so great. See everybody
So
here
many.
from Turkey, New York. So good. It's going to be a
Vancouver.
good
Come
day.
on, Macy.
Yeah. Australia, Turkey.
Russia.
Going to
Wow.
talk about some songwriting. It's going to be good.
Manila, Japan. Hungary. Ooh. This is awesome.
London. Oh, James. I know, right? It's exciting. Maine. Wow. So cool. I think that I think that everyone from Academy has hopped over. I think the career panel is over officially, right?
It should be. Should be.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Rock
All
and
right, then
roll.
if that's the case, we can wait like 30
Yeah,
more seconds
I'm down to
and
start.
start it.
So, first of all, thank you everyone for joining us for this songwriting class. This is obviously for Acapella Academy Digital. And yeah, Acapella Academy is a little bit different this year, as you can tell. But it's been amazing. And actually, today is the last day, sadly. But yeah, I'm super excited to um, talk about songwriting with Tehillah. And it's a really cool experience for me because I believe that Tehillah was in the first songwriting class that I ever taught in my life.
It was.
And now we're teaching it together. So that's really awesome. Um, and so, yeah, I would love Tehillah to introduce herself and just talk a little bit about, her songwriting experience. And yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Well, hi, everybody. My name is Tehillah, as Avi said. I'm from Omaha, Nebraska originally, but now living in LA. I was at Acapella Academy originally as a camper back in 2014 all the way through 2016. And now I'm here as staff in 28. It's still 2020. In 2020, I'm a
Yeah, it's
director.
still 2020. Still there.
And yeah, and now we're here and we're teaching songwriting. I just graduated from college. I'm just ready to go. Things are good.
It's good stuff. Yeah. When did you start songwriting? Did you already say that?
Oh no, I didn't. Oops. So I started writing really because of Acapella Academy after 2016. Erin Bentledge, her and Taylor Fugit and Avi were all teaching the songwriting class that year, and I immediately went home and I was like, okay, let's try it just to write a song and see what happens. And then I ended up loving the process and wanted to dive more into it and figuring out my own sound and style and what I was good at, and then continue to write all throughout college and now write sparsely, but I still write. And that's that. Super, super simple.
Don't let her fool you. She's a great writer, and I've seen it in action, and it's awesome. I have been writing since I think I was 13 or 14. And yeah, I just fell in love with it the first time that I did it. And I've never taken a songwriting course, but I've always been a student of it. I very much look up to just really, really amazing songwriters like Bill Withers, Paul Simon, Sam Beam from Iron and Wine. The list goes on and on and on. But you know, I love writing songs, and it's one of my favorite things to teach because I love it so much. And I feel like it's such a thing that is it's such a beautiful way of self-expression. And not only that, it's a really, really beautiful thing to be able to write a song and get feelings out of you. I feel like it's very therapeutic and cathartic. So yeah, I love to songwrite. It's good stuff.
Good stuff.
So I guess where we'll start is, where do you start? How do you start writing a song? I think that there are a multitude of ways to start writing a song. But, Tehillah and I were talking before we did this class, and, we just talked about some of the main ways. Um, you know, for myself, I usually start with chords, and then I do melody, and then I do lyrics. Uh, but there's a lot of different ways. You can start with the chords. You can start with a melody and then put the chords under it. You can start with lyrics, or you can start from just a title and just see where that title takes everything. Um, I think that everyone has their own way of doing it, and I think that when you're getting started songwriting, you need to figure out which way works best for you. And if they all do, well, then that's great for you, because then you can just continue to have different ways of working that muscle of songwriting, which is a very, very important thing that I would like to say, and that songwriting is a muscle. And in order to get better at it, you have to work that muscle out. You have to do it all the time. Um, so, yeah. Um, Anything to add to that, Tehillah?
Yeah, adding on to that, just even starting out, there are so many different ways to write a song. There's no right way to do it. Every person's process is going to be different, as Avi already touched on. So for me personally, I like to write melody and lyrics first, usually melody, then lyrics, then chords. And then at the very, very end, I look at everything that I have and then put a title to it. And so for everyone, it's going to be a little bit of a different process, and there is no wrong way to go about writing a song. And then the next steps that you would take would all be depending on how you start. But yeah, there's no wrong way to
Yeah.
do anything.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I feel like, you know, what I always tell people when speaking about songwriting is that, you know, I always want people to write how they would write. Obviously there's going to be inspiration that you have, but at the end of the day, what's going to make you special is your individuality, and if you're trying to write too much like something, or if you feel, or if you're comparing yourself to somebody, then you're never really giving yourself the chance to be the individual writer that you can be. And that is what really makes it special. When you hear, when you hear someone songwriting, you don't think, wow, I really love this songwriting because it sounds like this other thing. You love the songwriting, you love the song because it is very specifically that person. And that really presents a feeling to you. It takes you somewhere, it takes you to a world. And I think that that is really what songwriting is about. And whenever you're writing a song, the goal is to evoke emotion or take someone somewhere, or even just to get something out. And so how do you do that? And I feel like every decision that you make should be directed towards that goal of the emotion you want to evoke, or the world that you want to take someone to, and all of those things, everything that you do in songwriting points towards that. The tempo that you choose to write, the chords that you choose to write, the way that you choose to write the lyrics, the melodies that you choose, the spaces that you choose, everything about it will add to that songwriting experience, and what the person is going to experience when they listen to your song. So I think that the next thing that we can go to is inspiration. Where do we get that? How do we go about that? Tehillah, you want to touch on that?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, as Avi said, at the end of the day, you're trying to tell a story with your song, whether that be through your lyrics or through your melody or through your chords. Everything that you contribute in the song is to further tell a story. So when it comes to what you want to write about, that's the most important part. How do you get inspired? What made you want to write the song in the first place? What story are you trying to tell? So a lot of the times when starting out with inspiration, you are going to base your inspiration on artists that you are inspired by musically. So songwriters that you look up to, or artists that you look up to when you're first starting out songwriting, you may want to try to emulate someone else's artistry, which is totally fine. But the difference in their artistry and your own is taking something that someone else did and adding your own style to it, adding what makes it you,
That's
adding what your own individuality to it. So just making sure that there's this really good book called Steal Like an Artist, which is basically, it's by Austin Kleon. And it's basically about that every single artist, every single song that exists comes from something else. If you were to look at Bruno Mars, for example, his style comes from Michael Jackson and Prince, and all the way back to Elvis. And even Elvis was inspired by somebody. And so basically saying that every song that you have, everything that you write is going to be inspired by something. It's what can you do to make it different, to set your music apart. And whether that be even just taking a melody that you like and changing a few notes in it just to start out, or taking a chord progression you like and switching it up. Just seeing what are you inspired by and how do you even get that on paper, I think is the very first step when writing songs.
absolutely. I love what you said about that. Um, it's really amazing to listen to an artist and you can hear little twinges and inspirations of like different artists that you like. But at the end of the day, it is very much them because they get inspiration. There's a multitude of combinations that you can have, I mean, I'm inspired by so many different people and all of that comes into my music, but at the end of the day, it goes through my specific filter and how I see it, how I feel it, how I imagine it. And that's the beautiful thing about songwriting. It's passed down from generation to generation, and then it's changed and formed, and it takes so many different shapes, and it's such a beautiful thing. So the idea of starting by taking some chords from a song that you love, or starting on a melody, or even a lyrical idea from something else is something that many of your favorite songwriters have done thousands of times, in infinite amount of times. So don't be afraid to do that. Um, let's see, where should we go next? I would say let's talk about different tools that we would use to kind of get started. Tehillah, do you want to talk about object writing, free writing, and things like that?
Definitely, yeah. So basically free writing is taking during a duration of time, whether that be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, however long this duration of time is, just writing constantly for that duration of time about anything and everything. So just a constant stream of consciousness. And it can be about specifically about something that you want to write about and just getting those thoughts on paper, or just what is happening in your day, or a specific topic that you assign to yourself. But just basically writing discipline to get your brain moving, to materialize all of your thoughts on paper, and something that you can refer back to once you do start writing, or something that you might even discover a topic in this free write that you didn't even know you wanted to talk about until you wrote it down on paper. So it's just basically to get all the thoughts that you have on paper. For me, I have just, my brain is scrambled and moving at 1,000 miles an hour all the time. So for me to write a song, I have to just write for 10 minutes before writing any song, just to get whatever it is I'm feeling, whatever it is I'm thinking on paper. And then as for object writing, that is a tool that's often used either at the beginning of a song, or if you're in the middle of your writing and need to get different ideas, different adjectives, different ways to describe things on paper as well. So object writing, it, for example, it's looking at an object in your room, like these headphones, and talking about, and just spending a duration of time, again, 5-10 minutes, maybe shorter, maybe longer, depending on what works best for you, and just describing how it feels, how it smells, what it looks like, what it feels like, all of these things, just to get different descriptors on paper. And that then helps you to start looking at your own lyrics and the things that you want to describe differently. And so those are just some tools to get your brain flowing, to tackle some writer's block that everyone will inevitably have at some point. And just a different way of looking at things that could be described more simply.
Yeah, I love that. And it's very, very helpful. And in the songwriting classes that we teach at Acapella Academy, we start out with that every single class. And it's really cool to see what people come up with. I mean, there are so many ideas that are just generated in those. I think we give them like a minute to just write object writing, and we'll say like, write about this clock, everything that's associated with it, just like Tehillah was talking about. Another thing that we do is called word painting. And it's something that I had done since I started writing songs, but I didn't know that that was actually the term for it. And basically what it is it's essentially just kind of letting music flow out of you, letting lyrics flow out of you. And it's not about trying to write a song on the spot, but sometimes words do fall out, and sometimes, an actual lyrics will fall out. Like, I mean, there have been times when I've sat down to write a song and I've just been, trying to word paint, and then a lot of lyrics will come out. So it's a really beautiful thing to do. It's something that is really how I've started pretty much every song that I've written. But I'll give you a little bit of an example of it, just so you can kind of understand what I'm talking about. So, I'll just start with like any chord progression. I'll just make up Run right now. And it really doesn't matter what you start with. It just essentially is to get you started with like letting melodies come out of you, and letting lyrics come out of you, and even letting vowel shapes come out of you. What I do is whenever I do this, and I recommend you do this, is I'll get my guitar out. I will put my phone down, get the voice memo out, and I'll press record, and I just let things come out. So this is usually how I do it. Writing woes on my brain. Hoping, praying, writing, writing, oh, that name. That's what I mean when I say word painting. Like if you listen to what I was doing, essentially I mean I just those chords are just what my fingers went to, and those melodies were just kind of what came out of me. Now I don't think that everyone is like that. I think that a lot of people need to sit down and like think about what like these are the chords that I want, like, or, these are the lyrics that I want. But for me, I like to just kind of let it flow out of me. And if you were listening, like you could hear some, words come out. You could hear different vowel shapes. Um, and also you could hear a song structure. And the reason for that is because I do it a lot. I'm comfortable on my guitar. I'm comfortable with the chords that I was playing. Um, and I'm also comfortable just letting things come out of me. And so I would really urge anyone that wants to write a song to, you know, just try different ways of writing, you know? Um, so yeah, that's word painting, and I hope that you understand what it is and that it can help you. Like I said, it's really what I do every single time. Let's see. So I say, we've talked a bit about inspiration. Um, I don't, let's see, well, we don't have so much time left, um, at least for us talking. I want to leave a lot of time for questions. So I guess let's get into the troubleshooting part of it. I'm kind of the writer's block part of it. Tehillah, you want to kind of touch on that and just start with that?
Yeah, definitely. So, writer's block, as I said, it happens to everyone, and that is absolutely okay. I think when you're suffering from writer's block, the most important thing is to not force anything out, not to write down things that
Mhm.
you're not completely satisfied with, not, but there's also nothing wrong with, if you want to continue to move on in the line, to put a placeholder line in saying this is kind of along the lines of
Mhm.
what I want to go for, or just skipping a line completely and moving on to something that you want to do. um, by spending too much time fixated on one line, on one section of the song, it just gets mentally frustrating trying to figure out how do I
Mhm.
perfectly word this one section of the song. And on that as well, it's really easy to get into the editing process of songwriting really quickly, or too easily, to put down a line that you like and then going, oh no, I want to go back and fix that, instead of just moving on and coming back to it later. There's absolutely nothing wrong with coming back to something later. Like by the time you finish your fully fleshed song, there's nothing wrong with um, going back and editing the little things at that point. But don't get too involved in the editing process as you're in the middle of just getting your thoughts down on paper. So with more writer's block things, try to write differently than you usually do. If you usually start with lyrics and you're stumped on lyrics, maybe try just to get a melody out first to fit lyrics to that, or maybe try getting just a chord structure down on the piano or guitar, or even just a logic loop, guitar loop that you find somewhere, just to start looking at different ideas for getting your thoughts and getting your music down on paper. Um, and also, again, what songs you like to listen to. You can take ideas from these different songs, from inspiration from these different songs, and find a way to make it your own, instead of trying to just completely come up with something on your own. There's nothing wrong with, again, stealing like an artist and being inspired by artists that you look up to. um yeah, that's really the biggest thing with, I think, writer's block, is just not be too hung up on where you're at, and just to always finish something regardless. Even if it's bad, not every song that you have is going to be a number one hit. So just not being afraid to, make mistakes, or to write down something that you're not 100% happy with, but just to finish the song in general.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Um, hey, girl. Okay, so um, basically, I want to touch on the thing that she said about not getting caught up. I think that it's extremely, extremely important to not get caught up on that stuff. You are your own worst critic. Um, it's something that is is really probably the biggest inspiration killer of all time is being your own worst critic. There have been so many times when I have written a song and I've been like, wow, that is not a good song. I do not like that. I'll never use that. And I'll listen back to it like weeks later. I'll be like, wait, that actually, I really like that, you know? So I would urge everyone that's trying to write a song, just let it go, continue to write it, always finish it. It's extremely important. If you have a bunch of unfinished songs, then, what is that good for? Always finish your song. You can always come back to it. Another thing that she said, was make sure to not, stick on a line. If there's a line that, in a song, that you just cannot figure out, skip it and go to the next one. Oftentimes that next line will inform what the previous line was. Um, so there's that. And, I think that the biggest thing that I would say would be just continue to write. Don't give up. One of the most important lessons that I've learned is that every single time that you write a song, you're not going to write the best song that you've ever written when you sit down. You know, um, you're not always going to write your best piece of work. And at the end of the day, even if you are writing your best piece of work, you probably will not know it at the time. And if you were to stop yourself and think, "Oh, this isn't good enough," then that song would never come to fruition. So always finish your songs. Always let yourself uh, continue things so that they can really come to fruition. It's extremely important. I'm trying to think of anything else that I would want to touch on before we get to questions, because I think that questions are extremely important for this, and that everyone's questions are going to inform what's going on. Um, Let me see. Is there anything else that you can think of that you would want to touch on, Tehillah? I'm going to look at our notes really quickly and see
Yeah, something that I
um,
had just thought
if
of,
there's anything
also
else.
saw kind of some questions in the comments, were about all of your songs starting to sound the same. So whether that be at the same tempo or all in the same key or all have a really similar melody or along the same those lines. I think going in and after the song is done, like while you're writing, don't get into the editing process too quickly. Just get whatever it is down on paper, just so you have it. And then once the song is done, once you have everything on paper, that's when you can go back and say, okay, let's try changing these chords or try changing this melody so that way it doesn't sound like this other song that I wrote 2 days ago. And or just changing the tempo and or changing a groove, things like little things like that, so that not every song sounds like a piano ballad in 4/4 with the same 1/5 6/4 chord structure. You literally even just changing the order of those chords automatically can make a song completely different, or taking the BPM, taking the beats per measure up by a few, so it's more an up tempo song than like a mid tempo ballad. So little things like that, I think, are some more troubleshooting tips for just making it so that not all of your songs sound exactly the same. And that's more of like an arrangement standpoint than it is really songwriting. But um, those are little tips to touch on that.
Yeah, absolutely. All helpful. Um, yeah, I think that at this point, I would like to open it up to questions. It's a really important thing to be able to ask questions and things like this. If we just talk to you all day, you're going to learn, but I think it's important for us to learn as well. So does anyone have any questions? I know there's a bit of a delay, so I'll wait for the questions to come through.
Yeah, there's already like
Um,
30 in here, so I can start reading some of them.
oh, great. Well, Tehillah, you do your thing.
Um, so what about tips for writing from a prompt?
Hmm. Tips for writing from a prompt. Um, I'm trying to think of what exactly they mean by that. Do you have an idea of what they mean by writing from a prompt?
My assumption is, you are assigned, you have to write this specific type of song about a jogger who was on the street and decided to stop by
Mm.
a store and grab a milkshake. What is the best way to go about writing the lyrics and writing the entirety of a song without, and still be able to keep your own individuality, even though it's not necessarily your story that you're telling?
Yeah, I feel that. I would say the last thing you said is a key point. If you're going to write a song, and you want it to sound like you, do the things that you would normally do. Regardless of what you're writing about, if you do the things that you would normally do, it's going to feel like you, right? So I would say, you know, it's really all based on your style. Start with your style, start with the things that you know, and then just elaborate on that. I think that also, the object writing and the free writing is really important for that as well, just to get all these different ideas out. Even just looking at a word can spark a different inspiration. Um, so yeah, that's what I would say for that. Do you have anything to add to that?
You touched on everything. I think just in general, getting in the mind of who is the person that's telling the story, and what can you also relate to, so that way you still have your own voice and your own individuality and can tell this story as authentically as possible. So whether that be
Yeah.
going out and experiencing this by yourself, or just really, again, word painting and free writing and just really imagining what that would be, I think is the best way to go about go about those scenarios.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the next question?
Let's see. Do the lyrics have to rhyme to sound good? No, 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 no. I
No,
mean,
definitely not. Go ahead,
yeah,
Tehillah.
I think when it comes to lyrics and when it comes to rhyme scheme, it depends on, again, at the end of the day, you're trying to tell a story. So whether that be all your lyrics are just a stream of consciousness and your thoughts on paper, that's okay. Or whether that be, here's my 4 bar or 4 line verse and every other line rhymes, that's also okay, because it's all contributing to the overall story. So I think in a lot of folk music, especially, that's kind of where you don't really see all of these very technical structures being involved in the music. It's a lot of word painting, a lot of, this is the story that I'm trying to tell, and doesn't really matter. Well, I mean, it does matter to an extent, but it doesn't really matter how I tell it at the end of the day, because this is the story, and whether it rhymes, someone's going to be able to resonate with it. Versus, in, a lot of top 40 pop music, just because of the attention span of a lot of the audience members listening that aren't musicians themselves. A lot of the time they have to have rhyme schemes to remember to catch on to lyrical phrases, or to melodic hooks that are happening in the chorus in each verse, things like that. So I think the most important thing is tell the story as authentically to you as possible, whether that be rhyming or whether that be for the sake of having the audience be able to sing along after the second chorus. I think whatever the goal of your song is, that's what you should stick to when it comes to lyrics.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and at the end of the day, there are many songs that I love that are not a normal rhyme scheme, and some that don't rhyme at all. And I think that it's just a choice. And oftentimes it's like I'll be writing a song and I'll be like, is that weird to do? At the end of the day, if it's weird to do, but it feels good, it's okay. It's gonna make it very, very individual to me and very specific to me. Um, and also another thing about it is that they don't have to be perfect rhymes. Even if you do want to have something rhyme, they don't have to be perfect rhymes. They just need to sound like they rhyme. And you can even like mold words to make them sound like another word. So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Another question.
also, just
Oh,
I
sorry.
before you get into the other question, anyone that's asking questions on the comments, send them to Tehillah, and then we'll get to them that way. I feel like that's a much easier way to do it. So if you do have a burning question, then send it to Tehillah, and she'll read it if we can get to it.
Yeah, there should be a poll option for you to send your questions in, and that's how I'm able to see all of them. Let's
Yeah, yeah.
see. Does the insight you gave apply to both sound design and scoring films as well? It's a little bit different for like compositions, instrumental music. Again, it kind of depends on the genre that you're tackling. If it's more like a pop instrumental EDM type of thing, you're going to probably want to have a hook or a catchy melodic line that you um, hold on to. But a lot of times, like film scoring, screen scoring, whatever is happening is what's happening on the screen. You want to emulate that emotion that's on the screen in music as much as possible. So whether that be in a really upbeat, really triumphant sound, or whether that be like a beautiful ballad with violins and other strings and piano and guitar, um, that doesn't have any theme to it really, other than just evoking the emotion that's on screen. I think that's all that I can really contribute to film scoring and screen scoring.
Yeah, I mean, with all of that stuff, I think it's really, really about accentuating what the movie or screen or whatever it is trying to convey, whatever's happening on screen. If the music doesn't match it or doesn't accentuate it, then it almost takes away from it. You know, everything you do is a choice, but I think that a lot of the things that we spoke about definitely do apply. But because it is something where you're more accentuating and it's not the main thing, you really have to be more in tune with the idea of everything serving the purpose that you're trying to, the goal that you're trying to achieve.
Definitely. Yeah. Another question: how does collaboration change the songwriting process?
Man, I mean, it changes it in an infinite amount of ways. I think that at the end of the day, collaboration can be amazing or it can be terrible and crippling for songwriters. And I think that it's really, really important to find people that it feels amazing with because collaboration is such a beautiful thing. It's something that I support and take part in, and I love deeply. But if it's not the right person, it does not feel good and it will not be productive. You don't even necessarily need to enjoy like having a conversation with the person. If you can have a musical conversation with them and you can throw ideas back and forth and it just totally meshes musically, then that's what it's about. You're going there to do something. Now, if you're very sensitive to that type of energy, then pick people that you're really, really comfortable with. And that is what's most important, that you can be comfortable, you can be yourself, and that it feels good.
Definitely. And adding on to that, I think it's important that you find collaborators that you can be honest with. I think a lot of the time,
Yeah.
especially when I was first starting out with collaboration songwriting, was not wanting to, or having an idea about a different lyric or a different melody or just different idea in the midst of writing the song. But because maybe this other person really liked that idea, I didn't really want to voice that I wasn't a fan of the idea and just kind of went along with it. Or if we were stuck somewhere and I had an idea, I didn't want to really share my idea out of fear of not having it accepted. So I think having collaborators who are honest with you and that you can be honest with is a really important part of the songwriting process because it's such a vulnerable thing. It's such an emotionally charged process, and so I think being able to
Yeah,
be honest with your collaborators and not having to hold back any of your ideas is a really important part of collaborating.
absolutely. Totally agree.
Great. Let's look for more questions. Have any? Looking for stuff that we haven't talked about yet. Do you find it easier to write on paper or online, like Google Docs? Um, I like the I like writing with paper. With I have a notebook that I put all of my ideas in, and am able to write down at any given moment in the day. Versus like Google Docs, for example. Um, you have to have Wi-Fi or you have to have like a connection or a solid internet source in order to get things down. So if you have an idea and you forget it, that's unfortunate. But at least with a notebook that you carry around, like literally, if you were walking down the street and you see something that inspires you, you are able to just jot it down in your notebook. And I think a lot of people use the Notes app as well with writing down those ideas or recording things that you might um, think about. But I think that the most important part with things like that is I like doing paper because it allows me again not to get into the editing process too quickly. It allows me to get my thoughts down and not go back and literally watch myself delete different things. Versus in paper, I can see, I can cross out the things that I didn't enjoy before. I can cross out the things that um, I was not as confident on before, and I can even look back at it later and say, "Oh wow, that process of creating the final result was such a journey." And so I think paper is more powerful in getting all of your ideas down, but the notes app on your phones also work, but also again, it's individual to you. it's individual to your own preference and what you'd rather have your ideas recorded on.
Yeah, absolutely. Funny enough, I actually do just use notes on my phone. It's really just the most convenient thing for me. And I mean, I've definitely used a notepad and paper, um, and I think I will start doing that more. But it tends to be, oh man, I have an idea and I'm going to write it down really quickly, you know. So I think that honestly, there is no way that is better than the other. It's really what works best for you and what feels best for you. I know that some people like they really need the the pen and paper, like they want to feel that. Um, it's like a certain thing for them, and so I think whatever is the best thing for you, and also use voice memos, whatever you want, that will get an idea down. You just don't want to lose your idea. That's the most important thing.
Definitely. Voice memos will save your life. Literally, the number of times I've woken up at 3 a.m. and just said, okay, just like to get it down so I don't forget it. Because who knows, it could be something really good or it could just be like a total disaster, seeing as it's 3 a.m. in the middle of the night. But just always making sure that any idea you have, you get it down on paper or on your phone, wherever it is. Let's see, more
Yep.
questions. I saw what's a hook? I guess in technical terms, the hook is just like the most catchy part of the song. It's also referred to as the chorus in the song, or if it's like a post-chorus, a line that you typically remember after the song is over. So it repeats throughout the
Yeah.
song and just allows you to have something to catch onto, to hook onto, hence the name, the
Yeah.
hook.
Exactly. And it's what grabs you. It's what hooks into you. Um, it's something that you remember. So yeah.
What artists inspire you? Ooh,
You want to go first?
sure. Um, wow, so many. I'm inspired by so many.
Yeah, it's tough.
I guess going backwards, kind of going through like the eras of music, so much by Aretha Franklin, Stevie Wonder. I love Leon LaHava getting a little more current. Maggie Rogers. Um, Goodness, so many. It's hard to like actually think of all of
Yeah.
them. Alan Stone. I love Alan Stone. Um, there's so many. I can think of so many, and also none at all. But I think it's in that too. It's really important to have artists from different genres that you look up to, even if it's just so you have not only will you have musical ideas that come from each of those genres, but also lyrical ideas and historical ideas just from the music itself and all of that stuff. I don't want to talk too long about that,
hmm
but those are some of mine.
Let's see. Inspiration. Artists that I'm inspired by. Um, Iron and Wine, for sure. Sam Beam, that's the same person. Simon Garfunkel, Bill Withers, Ray LaMontagne, Jose Gonzalez, Bon Iver, um, you know, so many different people. Also recently, like Michael Kiwanuka, um, man, truly so many. It is impossible to list them all. But really, anyone that I listen to and enjoy listening to has been an inspiration in some way. Sometimes the way that I view listening to music is like downloading information. Everything that I hear is kept with me. And, so every single thing that I listen to will inspire me at some point or another.
Absolutely. Here's a good one. I think you'll be able to touch on this more than I can, but what is the difference in approach to writing a single versus writing for an album?
Hmm. Well, I think that, in this day and age, I think that, well, I guess it's throughout history. The single is kind of like your best foot forward, your lowest common denominator. What will the most people like? Um, what will catch the most ears? And I think that's kind of what defines a single, what probably will do the best. Um, and in terms of like a song for an album, that's not really necessarily the goal of it, you know, and everyone writes differently and everyone has a different goal in terms of what they want to do in music. So, you know, there are some artists that truly just write for the album, and everything is to serve that album and to serve that journey that they want to take you on. And some artists just kind of write whatever comes to them, and some artists specifically write things that they think will do well, you know. And you know, every artist has their place and every art has its place. um and so yeah, but that's the difference.
Yeah, cool. Let's see. How would you recommend finding your own unique voice?
Mm. Now, I wonder if they meant, and maybe whoever asked this question can speak to it in the comments, but I wonder if they mean like specifically vocally your own voice, or your own voice as a songwriter, or your own voice as an artist, because all of those things are different. They all kind of add to the same thing, which is essentially your voice as an artist. Um, and I think that, you know, that is an endless battle for artists. And I think that some people don't actually have that struggle. They're just like, this is what I do, that's it. But finding it, you know, how to go about finding it, I think that the most important advice that I could give is just continue to do it. And if you continue to write and you just continue and continue and continue, you're going to see a commonality in what you've done. And I think that also another thing about it is like, not to say that when you write music, it should be about other people liking it, but I would also say that, you know, if what you want is to help people and for people to connect to your music, I would let your friends or people that you really respect and that you trust their opinions, listen to your stuff and see what they connect with. And let a few people listen to it. I know it's a very, very vulnerable thing, but I think it'll help you find your voice. I know for me that there's a lot of different things that I love to do musically. There's a lot of different ways that I love to use my voice. But I think what's most important for me is what is going to help people the most, at least for my art. What is going to um, help people with life, you know? And that's kind of how I've gone about it. Whenever I write a song, I have in mind, like, how is this going to help someone? Not only how is it going to help someone, but how is it going to help me with things that I'm going through? And if it can help me, then it's definitely going to help someone else.
Yeah, absolutely. You nailed it. Don't really have a lot to add.
Thanks, Ira.
Let's see. Another question. Ooh, from VJ. Do you try to write as many songs as possible so you have more to pick from, or do you focus on just a few songs at a time for quality?
Hmm. You know, I think that I would say write as many songs as you can. I think that at the end of the day, the goal is to always finish a song. So, you know, if you can finish 10 songs in 10 days, then great. But if it takes you a little bit longer to finish songs, then, you know, take that time. I would never say rush it. It's definitely not about, you know, writing as many songs as you can. I think it's just about sitting down and actually doing it, and completing a song. That is really what I would say would be the most important thing to me, is completing the song. And, you know, I do think it's important to focus on the quality of it, but I think that's also very, very subjective. And I think that when you're in the songwriting process, you can think that something is of the lowest quality, and when you listen back to it, you'll be like, wait a minute, I really love this song. So I would say finish the song, and always continue to be working at it. And at the end of the day, you will continue to get better and better, guaranteed.
Definitely. A question I saw also, it was in the chat, but I thought it was really interesting. How do you get over second verse stump? I think that's a really very real thing. What I do personally when I just don't know exactly what it is I want to say or how it is that I want to say it is I have another page in my notebook. I make a huge box and I write down what it is I'm trying to say with this verse. How does it progress the story? What do I want to tell with the story in this section of the song? how does it lead back to the chorus? And so I literally just write down, oh, my heart hurt and I felt this way because this person did this, or so on and so forth, just to get what it is that I'm wanting to write. And so the question is just, how do I now write it in a way that is more acceptable for song form, or just more artistic, that makes it painted more beautifully. So it's just a matter, I think, is just making sure that you know what you want to say first before just trying to dive into sounding as artistic and as super unique and all this stuff as possible. Just making sure you know what it is you want to say first, and then getting into, now how do I want to express it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's important to zoom out of the second verse specifically and think, okay, what is this song actually about? And what have I touched on before? Where does it need to go next in order to tell the story that I want to tell? You know?
Yeah. How is the process different for writing for other people? Writing for someone other than yourself?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, that is a totally different thing. I would say you need to really get to know the person. You really need to get to know what they love. You need to really get to know how they feel, what they're feeling in the time, you know? I think that if you know the person, you know what they love musically, you know who they are and what they struggle with and what they deal with, what they are excited about, you'll be able to write for them. And also another thing I think that is really, really important is when you're writing for someone, you want to write something that they can also sing very well, and that will feel good to them when singing it. So, yeah, those are the pieces of advice I would give for that.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think in those regards, you still should be able to have your own voice and your own words and lyrics in writing a song. That's probably why they asked you to write a song for them, if that's the case. But I think, again, yes,
Mhm.
it's definitely important to make sure you're taking this person's physical voice and technique and style into account when you're writing lyrics for them. If don't say, you can draw from your own experiences to get different words on paper, but I think it's so important to get into the mind of the person who's singing it and why they would be singing it the way that they would, why they would have a specific melody, etc. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, a question here. What do you have to be proficient at piano, guitar, etc. to be a good songwriter and to get docs down on paper, essentially? No.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. I've heard many, many amazing songwriters that don't play any instruments at all. Um, if you can sing, if you can hold a melody, um, I mean, honestly, some of the best songwriters that I know are not great singers. So, at the end of the day, if you have it in you, you can write a song. Um, there are always going to be other people that can put chords to your melodies, 100%, and also, even if you just write lyrics, if you can find someone that can put a melody to that, um, it's really, there's nothing that should stop you from writing a song. Anyone can write a song. It's something that is such a beautiful thing to do, and I feel like oftentimes people think that if only if you're a musician, or only if you can sing, or only if you can play an instrument, then you can write a song. But anyone can write a song. Really is the truth.
And that's also kind of where collaboration comes in handy too. Collaboration comes in so many different forms. It doesn't just have to be two people attempting to write all the lyrics and all of the melody and all of the chords. It can be, songwriting can be, someone is really good at lyrics and then someone else is really good at coming up with melody and then someone else is really good at coming up with chords. A lot of the times, if you even look at the credits for these top 40 songs, you see like in the dozens of people who have songwriting credits, because there's someone who had a good production idea. There's someone who came up with the chords, who came up with the lyrics, number of people who came up with the lyrics, and then someone else who contributed a melody idea to it. There are You do not at all have to be proficient in any instrument to write a good song. Um, yeah, all there
Mm-hmm.
is to that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
does your perspective change over a song over the years?
Say that again.
So does your perspective change over a song over the years? I think my interpretation is, do you look back at songs that you've written and see it differently after?
Definitely. Absolutely. There are many songs that I've written that I look back on, and sometimes I didn't even know what the song was about. And then when I look back on it, I'm like, oh, this is what it was about. Um, and then also songs that I was like, I don't totally love that song. But then I look back and I'm like, wait a minute, that song has a lot of potential, or I love it just how it is. So yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. Let's see. How do I fight the shyness of showing people my music?
Mm, I would say you just have to do it. You know what I mean? The more that you do it, the less scary it'll be. And I think that at the end of the day, if you show it to someone who you really trust and that really cares about you, it's going to be a good experience. You know what I mean? Don't show it to someone that is not very nice to you. I think that that would be a bad idea. But I think that, you know, at the end of the day, there's not really anything you can do except for just do it. And also, if you're worried about, it not being good enough or you're not singing it well enough, then practice it. Preparation um, is honestly what kills my anxiety a lot of the times. Um, if I didn't prepare, then I would be worried about how it was going to go. So yeah, I would say that.
Yeah, agreed. I think we have time for like one more question and then final thoughts. I
All
see
right.
how to go about writing in different genres.
How do you go about writing different genres?
Yeah,
I would say do your research. If you need to be writing in a specific genre, then listen to a lot of that music and continue to listen to it until you find something that you really, really love. And when you find something that you really, really love, delve into it um, and understand it, every part of it. Um, but if you're really a student of that, you should be able to write. But I would say that really, really do your research on it, really delve into it, really listen to a lot of it, and find the stuff that you like. And then when you find the stuff that you like, you can take it within yourself. And then when you put it back out, it'll be very much you.
definitely. Absolutely doing research is key. I don't think you definitely don't want to take what you think is an element of a different song and then just call it that genre. I think
Yeah.
being able to understand what goes into a reggae beat, what is the definition of reggae, where did it come from, what makes it reggae before attempting to write a reggae song because you heard a reggae song before and you just want to replicate that is important. So yeah, we have 2 minutes
Yeah.
remaining. So final thought.
Yeah. And you really want to honor that tradition of where that music came from. Um, it's really, really important. There's music from all over the world, all different cultures, and um, yeah, you have to really honor that because it comes from a deep place. So yeah, we have 2 minutes left. Um, I think that if there was one thing that I would want people to get out of this class, it would be to never stop writing and to always do your best to be an individual in it. There's no one else in the world that is like you. And that's exactly what's going to make you special when it comes to songwriting. Lean into that. Don't compare yourself to others and just always finish your songs.
Yeah.
Always finish your songs and never stop writing.
Yes. Absolutely. If you have your make your own individual sound in your writing. Don't try to sound like someone else. You can take ideas from someone else starting out, but at the end of the day, you don't want to hear, oh, you sound like Adele. Oh, you sound like this other artist. You want to hear, oh, this sounds so authentically you. So be true to yourself, be authentic to yourself, and write what makes you happy at the end of the day.
Amazing.
All right.
Well, I love
Thank
you
you all
all.
for
Thank you so
coming.
much for joining us. And Tehillah, it was a pleasure to teach this class with you. And I love you
You as
very much. And I'm
well.
so proud of you. And
Thank you. I love
yeah,
you.
thank you all so much for coming to the class. And I really, really hope that you were inspired and that you come out of this and write a song and that you never stop writing songs. It's very good for the soul and it's very good for the world. So I wish you well and we'll see you soon.